Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Fresh Off the Set. My name is David Osmond. Excited to be here today because I'm with a buddy of mine, Dan Farr, who has Dan Farr Productions. You may not know that name, but you're going to know this name, Fan X. And if you've been to Utah, anytime in the last 11 years, you know what this convention is. It's the largest convention, most attended, actually, I saw in Utah. Just so many people, thousands and thousands of people come out to support, but they dress up, cosplay, and then they come to see their favorite celebrities, superheroes, if they're comic book fans, if they just like Hollywood, if they like just hang out with people, birds of a feather, they flock together right here at FanX. And Dan Farr created this monster, this awesome experience. And so he's here on Fresh Off the Set with me today. How you doing, Dan?
Fantastic. Thank you for letting me join you here. FanX is amazing as far as the way that the community comes together. And when I started it, I had no idea that it would become such an important part of what people do. You know, people from the next day after the convention, they're starting to plan out their cosplay for that they're going to have the following year.
And it's good timing too, because it usually ends up in September. So Halloween's right around the corner. They hit two birds with one stone.
You hope they
do. It's like a month full of just dress up and hanging out and having fun.
Yeah,
the energy in Salt Lake City changes the week of FanX because everybody downtown is walking around in some kind of a costume, or there's smiles everywhere, and they get to come see their favorite celebrity and get an autograph or take a picture. It's just a cool experience. Everyone's a fan of something, right?
That's what we see. Is, you know, we try to find out what people are fans of and trying to tap into that and provide that at the conventions. In fact, you know, we even had Buzz Aldrin. You know, you kind of talk about kind of going outside the norm of the superhero mold or whatever. We wanted to tap into fandom. We've had musicians before. Meatloaf has been there. Alice Cooper. We had Logic at this last show.
Oh, yeah. Holy cow. Yeah. Dude, I mean, if you're not going to FanX, you got to go check this out. It has become a Utah tradition, and it's only getting bigger and better, for sure. And if I go back even before all this, like I'm curious, Dan, your origins. You're from Utah.
Yes.
Born and raised, and you didn't always go into the comic book convention type of expo. You were doing companies and other adventures before this, like 3D animation, I understand. Tell us about how you got into your industries and then how it led you to FanX.
Well, I started my career out working in the 3D computer model and animation business. And it was something that I did for, 12 years or 12, 14 years. And in the midst of that period, I actually got a chance to go to some of the similar conventions to what FanX is in different cities. And we went there as a vendor because what we saw there was a lot of cosplay, but the comic book artists were actually starting to use our products in their illustrations of comic books. And that was kind of fun to tap into that market. And so as we attended those shows as a vendor, it was like, wow, this is such a powerful event. I had no idea that they existed, but you'd go there and see people dressed up in cosplay, and you'd see families and people going around just having a great time. And I got sucked into that energy. I didn't know that was something I wanted to be a part of. And then as I started going to them, I thought, wow, we need to bring something like that here to Utah. I knew that Utah had the kind of the history of when we announced or when we release a big Hollywood movie like Harry Potter or some of the, the fantasy sci-fi type movies, they would lead the nation in opening weekend. And just like, that's a pretty good tell that people here in Utah love pop culture and sci-fi. And so we had done a couple of mergers with our 3D business, Daz 3D, and basically I was going to transition out of the company and kind of leave the company to new leadership to take it to another level.
Sure,
And so as I was doing that, I had my eyes set on trying to start a big event here in Utah, and I partnered with Utah Media Group to do our very first event. And they've been our ticketing partner ever since. Iterations of their company.
They're still part of FanX.
They're still part of it. Well,
they on the ticketing side
for the ticketing, yeah. So, but really, it was their expertise of running an event with my idea of what this would be and bringing in elements of what I see in these other shows. And bringing it in and basically taking that together and creating this big event. And what's interesting is the way that started is we were going to do it at the the Southtown Center, which is, Mountain America
Exposition
Expo
Center,
now.
the convention center.
Right, yeah. And so we were going to do it there, and they have 5 halls out there. We had rented one hall with the reservation to expand
An
to the second
overflow
one.
kind of thing.
Yeah, that we take the second hall. Well, so when we announced it, the response was so big on social media, and my partner at the time, Brian Brandenburg, was doing all the marketing, and he was able to tap into Facebook and social media, and it really started blowing up. And then as we started announcing guests, we were like, hey, we're going to need a bigger boat. So
you bring Richard Dreyfuss along with it.
Right. So we expanded it to the 3 halls, and then 4, and then finally we realized we were too big for that.
Was this in the same year or just the consecutive years?
This is the same year.
This is year 1.
This is year 1.
Oh, my gosh.
We announced William Shatner in July, and ticket sales doubled that month.
Boom.
Yeah. So we're like, we need to move downtown. And fortunately, that worked out, that we were able to just shift it down, because the management company is the same for both convention centers.
Yeah.
And so they said, yeah, sure, we'll bring you downtown. That's where we wanted to be to begin with, but we didn't think we were going to start big enough. We were thinking we'd maybe have, 10,000 attendees, maybe 15,000. Well, by the time the event rolled around, and it was about 60, 70,000 people attended.
Wow, that's unbelievable. And and this past year, even bigger and better, over 100,000, close to. It's just exploding and growing and growing. Yeah, you had just amazing people. This year, I think Mel Gibson, it was like one of the first types of conventions he's ever done like this. Is that right?
Yeah, this was his first time to interact with the fans the way he got to do. And I haven't had a chance to hear how he felt at the end of the day, but I do. He was really good when we had a chance to talk with him. He was very nice to everybody that interacted with him.
It was lots of things happening at the convention. You've got, of course, the meet and greets. You can get autographs and pictures. There's merchandise places. Everyone's kind of cosplay, dressed up, having fun. I saw even Jedi sword fights going on. Then there's the big hall where it's keynote, and panel discussions. And it's just a lot to soak in. It's a 3-day event, right?
It is. It's 3 days. And we do have some celebrities that will come 1 or 2 days, and some are there all 3 days. And so every day the lineup changes a little bit. Yeah. So it makes it good to come all 3 days. But also there is that, you mentioned the panel room. There's actually multiple panel rooms going at the same time, but the main one, the main stage, we put in the hobbits from Lord of the Rings. We actually
Elijah Wood comes in, and that's cool. There's something for everyone. It's like a choose your own adventure in some way. You go into that convention hall. It's just got to be, the energy is palpable as you walk around.
That's interesting you say that. When I would describe to people what it was I was doing next after I left Daz 3D, I tell them, I say, well, this fan convention is so powerful. I said, the energy in that room, it's like you can cut it with a knife. You feel like there's just something there, because you can just sense how people are so excited. And so that's what these events are. It's just really, it's a celebration of fandom, and it's a chance for people to meet people they look up to, celebrities they look up to, or comic book artists or artists.
It's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go and meet Andy Serkis. Here's Gollum in the flesh. It's like, oh my gosh. And so many other voices and characters. And the nicest people. When you get a chance to go up and shake their hand and just have that human interaction. It's really, I saw a story recently from CBS This Morning, and they talked about starstruck, being struck, the fandom, the fanaticism of it. It's amazing how we have this bond. And it's interesting, too, to see the celebrities that are fans of the other celebrities that are there in the room, and to feel that connection and have them meet each other for the first time. It's pretty cool.
I love to witness that. I've become, people ask me, say, who are you a fan of? Who are you excited to see? And a lot of it comes from, I get excited about guests that I know that are going to have the most impact on the fans, the people that are attending, because I kind of have a vicarious, I live vicariously through the fans. So I like watching other people have a fan out moment where they get to see somebody that they get excited about. I just, it's kind of like I feel that energy of their first time meeting a celebrity. And you mentioned about celebrities meeting other celebrities, and that's been something that I only kind of tuned into maybe 5 or 6 years ago, where I realized, wait a second, these celebrities at our show, they all don't know each other. I kind of think that Hollywood's just this big circle, and everybody knows everybody, and nobody's excited about meeting somebody else. Yeah. But I've been able to witness these moments of celebrities meeting people they look up to. I remember one time, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, I was watching Evangeline Lilly, who was one of our larger guests at that show.
Yeah.
And she met Meatloaf, the singer.
Yeah.
And it was the cutest thing because she was just reliving her childhood with her parents as she's meeting him.
That's
you know,
cool.
she's having these moments because they used to always listen to his music together, and it was something that was really special. And she was so cute with him. And you can picture him, you know, here's this older gentleman with this stunningly beautiful actress fawning all over him, and you know, in a very fan-like manner. And it was really fun to witness. And I've had that opportunity, and I actually will ask a lot of celebrities as I'm talking to them. I say, so is there anybody here at the show you want to meet? And I'll get some moments to connect people. I saw two of our actors at the show. It was kind of fun. I'll say LeVar Burton was walking by and he sees Susan Sarandon, and I was talking to Susan. LeVar comes by, oh, hi, and he introduced himself. And she equally responded to him, so she knew who he was, and
for sure,
it was kind of mutual admiration. It was
because
really
they don't cross paths like ever. Then maybe no project, and it's fascinating. Even on the backlot of movie sets or whatever production, even actors in the same film almost never interact. It depends on what scenes they might be in.
Right,
they're isolated in their trailers or different days of production, and so to have a moment where it's just we're hanging out, and to go and just do a handshake and a hug and just have the human interaction connection quickly is a cool experience.
But one thing I do see too is a lot of them won't necessarily go out of their way to meet somebody else at the show. That's why I've tried to kind of broker that, because I think one thing that they've had is they've had the experience where they're at a restaurant having dinner with their family or whatever, and somebody comes up and talks to them in the middle of their dinner, or they're working on something and somebody comes up and interrupts them. I guess that's the best way to put it. Yeah. And so I think celebrities are extra mindful of each other, and so maybe they won't go out of their way to say hello to somebody that's sitting back in the break room. Yeah. And so I've tried to kind of broker those introductions because they both enjoy it. It means something that here's somebody that I had a friend, Colin Cunningham, who was telling me about a convention he was doing. And Peter Mayhew was there, and he's like, I got to go over and meet Peter Mayhew. And so he's finally gets up the nerve to go over and meet him. And they look up at him, and they mentioned his character, and they go, we're big fans. We've been wanting to come over and say hello to you, because they were, Peter and his wife were fans of him.
That's
and his
so
work.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love seeing the moments. You just reminded me of a couple stories, and I'll tell you really fast. My dad reminded me this last week of this. When they were touring around the Osmonds, they actually had to use Led Zeppelin's sound system because it was the loudest sound system, and they had to get up above the dBs of the screaming girls. So they went to the show to check out the sound system, and as the concert they're playing, they were about to leave, and management came and got him. Says, hey, the guys want to meet you. My dad's like, oh no, see the same thing. We don't want to bug them. I'm sure they're just being nice. He's like, no, they want to meet you. Like, okay, so let's go. So they go backstage, and my dad, first thing, as he pulls his head through the curtain backstage, he almost got hit in the head with the Frisbee. And here he looks up, and here's the band, as the crowd is chanting for an encore, playing Frisbee with their kids. They're just hanging out, and they go, Osmonds, we love you guys. My dad looks at my uncle and says, hey, write that down. Led Zeppelin says they like us. And then they just talked, just as husbands, fathers, dads, just artists about life, and said, hey, come up on stage with us. We're going to do Stairway to Heaven. And they did the encore together. And it was like, my dad's like, that was maybe the highlight ever, to have a mutual, obviously a band that I loved, reciprocate that appreciation. That's a cool moment.
Isn't that fun? Yeah, it's nice to see that connection and people sharing those stories. I did hear, Colin he came over to my house yesterday. He's recently moved here to Utah. He's, been L.A., New York. So Colin Cunningham's moved here, and he came by the house to talk a little bit about the convention, because he was there as a guest this year as well. And he was talking about how he's sitting in the green room, and he looks over and he goes, wait a second, is that Paul Williams? Paul Williams is somebody from Rainbow Connection, the writer of Rainbow Connection, a lot of Carpenters. Yes, yeah. So he like all
Jim Henson guy and music and composition. Brilliant.
And it's funny is he's like a really big deal, and he sits there and goes, I can't believe that he's here. And so Colin got a chance to meet him, and of course Paul is very good with everybody he meets.
Yes.
And but it's fun to see those moments. And one of the things that special moment, I got a text from one of the agents, and I'm not going to say who this actress was, but the agent says, "Does anybody have any connections with Donny Osmond?" And well, this is Utah. Somebody does.
So, there's a few running around.
There's a few running around.
Half the state.
Exactly. So
she really wants to meet Donny.
Yeah. Her and her assistant were looking forward to hopefully meet him, just maybe if there was a way to do that.
Well, I know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy, and I'm all those guys. So you just let me know. We'll connect the dots. That's awesome. My dad, same story. Like, they're back in the 70s craziness. They got a knock on their hotel room door. My dad opens it up, and Paul McCartney's standing there at the hotel. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, who expects Paul McCartney? Hello, sir. And he's sitting there with his daughter. Paul McCartney brought his daughter. He says, hey, I don't want to bother you guys. Oh, come on, Paul. Are you serious? He goes, is it possible? Can my daughter meet Donny Osmond? Can she get his autograph? He's like, of course you can. Come on in. But it was he was there as Paul McCartney, the dad.
I know.
And there is that fandom, the appreciation, and just the connection backstage. And we all have that. So what I love is that you've created something so spectacular for Utah, where people can find something of all ages, something that you've connected with, you've seen, you've experienced, and maybe there's things that you haven't that you'll be introduced to if you go to these shows. And of course, a lot of the people that are appreciating that too, the energy for those that dress up and they're doing the cosplay thing, it's pretty cool.
It really is.
And what's amazing, I didn't even realize this until about you today, how big this is in your life. FanX is Salt Lake City, but you have a lot of other brands as well, other convention shows across the country. Yeah, what other cities are you doing simultaneously?
Yeah, we do Indianapolis,
okay,
Atlanta, and Tampa.
Okay, that's a lot of moving parts.
It is.
It's got to be a lot of fun.
It's fun. It's so fun. I love it. I mean, I really do. I thrive off the energy of just watching people have a good time. That's what's driven me all the way through my career. Is I like to produce something that then goes to a group of people that they get a chance to experience it, and it makes them happier, gives them some happy, enjoyment one way or the other. The 3D software business that I was involved with, we would turn out products that people would use in their art,
sure,
and they'd get excited. They actually became fans of the products that we were releasing.
Yeah. And
that's where I kind of first learned about fandom. When it took me years to realize, wait a second, this is very close to fandom. It's not just digitizing and creating digital characters. It's taking and creating fun things that people can get excited about, and then build off of and expand. And user generated content became a real big portion of that business, and really helped to make it grow, was because of the stuff that they were doing to create off of what we would start. And with FanX, it's the same thing. We kind of put the pieces together, and then it grows outside of that. The excitement and everything builds on top of what we put together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what's also cool is you mentioned the support of the community that comes out. We were talking about this a little bit earlier. It is second to none. I know that you have such an appreciation of the people of Salt Lake that have come out here, locals that come and support you in that. Can you tell me just a little bit, as we're getting to the end of this, but what that means to you, the community support?
Well, the community here from the very beginning came out of the woodwork to support us in a way that we had no idea. I didn't know what I was doing when I started this. I just knew I had a fun idea, brought in some great partners to help operate the event, but I didn't realize, how many volunteers we were going to need, and how many, just people coming in and doing panels and other things. And I had people reach out to me and say, hey, let me help you in this area. Let me help you here. And it came together very organically from the community. And even to the point that I mentioned earlier, that we had some high-level guests that the Governor Gary Herbert at the time offered to pick up at the airport. So he picked up William Shatner when he came in, and he picked up Stan Lee when he came in the following day.
Yeah, that would be a cool car ride.
Oh, I'm telling you.
Lou Ferrigno's come in a bunch, the original Incredible Hulk, and I'm sure and he's still just doing his thing and rocking it.
Yeah, he looks great. He's very still
lean, mean, and green.
I wouldn't take him on.
No way. And it's funny that the governor himself wanted to pick up these celebrities because he was a fan himself.
Well, and what happened is, after when we were going to bring Stan Lee back, like a couple years later, he said, "So is my friend the governor going to pick me up at the airport again?"
You remember?
And he did. Yeah. And I ran into William Shatner at another convention shortly after. He said, "So how's Gary doing?" You know, he had a good conversation with the governor, and I think they spent like 2 hours talking about the secrets of life.
That sounds a little bit like classic Shatner. Right?
Yeah.
That would be a cool conversation. And as is this conversation. I love chatting with you. I learn something new about you every time I talk to you. And as we kind of wrap this up for Fresh Off the Set, tell us about the future of Fanex. What do you have down the road? What are in your sights? What are your goals?
Well, we've been able to grow a little bit every year. I want to continue down that path of just continue to grow. You know, we don't want to double in size from one year to the next. It would kill us. You know, we have to grow a little bit. But we want to start expanding and really making it a downtown festival weekend.
Yeah,
and
fun.
Yeah, my dream is to have our main panel room, instead of just being in the ballroom there, actually do it at the Delta Center. That would be, for me, that would be perfect. We did a couple panels there with Mark Hamill and William Shatner. I think it was 7 years ago, 7 years ago, and we've had probably 10,000 people, 12,000 people that were in the arena. And it's quite a powerful energy. So I think that's one of our potential expansion capabilities. Because as you attend this show, you don't look around and say, "Oh, yeah, we could have twice as many people." You're bumping shoulders as you're walking through the halls. You're not thinking, "Oh, well, there's a lot more room to expand here," and there really isn't. We're going to have to find ways to expand outside of the building.
Growing pains, like any event, it has to be organic and one step in front of the other. But every year is hockey sticking. It's growing. Yeah. And we're just big fans of you and of this whole show. So thank you for creating something so special for Utah. Anything else you want to share with our audience? I appreciate it. More to come. We'll have to have you back on as future years go. But
well, I'll say this: the thing that makes my job so easy is the fans in Utah really come out to support the convention and support the celebrities that are at the show. It's an economic thing for them to come to the shows. I mean, they kind of put that on the table. You know, they go to different conventions because they're making money selling photographs, and and autographs and photo ops.
It's show business.
Yes, it is. It's a business for them. If they want to just meet fans, they can go to the mall, right? Or they go downtown in their cities or whatever. But this is a chance for them to get a meaningful interaction with fans, and it's not while they're having their own dinner, but because the fans here are so strong, our reputation is
they want to come back.
They want to come back because the fans are so supportive of them, and they end up with a successful weekend here.
Way to go, Utah. Yeah. Elvis Presley told my dad years ago, "If I could do it all again, Alan," he said, "I would do what you're doing. I'd go out there and I would shake every hand, I would sign every autograph and take every picture, because I can't do what I do without them. They're not fans, they're friends." And I think you've created that culture here with Fanex. So congratulations, kudos to you. And however we can support.
Speaking of Elvis, we had
Priscilla?
Priscilla, yes. We had Priscilla Presley. So
Priscilla was there. That's awesome.
Very sweet. She's actually, I didn't know what she'd be like, and getting to meet her. She's just super nice.
I haven't met her.
She's actually, she likes to joke and have a good time, and very, very, very down to earth, very humble.
My brother went down to the convention and said that he met Priscilla. He says, "Dude, it was so cool."
Oh, he did.
Yeah, but again, just fanboying. Just had such a cool moment, and stories to tell for days. And when you see people larger than life, whether they're pictures on your wall or on your TV, it's like to see them in person, to shake their hand. It is a surreal, cool moment. So thanks for creating that for so many people.
Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. Anything we can do to support, man, we're fans of you. Thanks a lot, Dan.
Thank you.
Congrats, you made it to the end. If you want to continue to freshen up your day, you can watch us on Fresh Living every weekday on CBS Channel 2 in Utah at 1 o'clock. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel, KUTV Fresh Living, and follow us on social media. We will see you next week.